Here we go. All right, great.
Cool.
Maybe the slideshow. Perfect.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Harleena Franklin. I'm a PhD student at the University of Buffalo. Elizabeth Thomas is my advisor. And I have been working on developing this lipid biomarker database for the Niche Arctic project, which is funded by the NSF, and just kind of, broader things altogether. The author list we have here is kind of our first step as we kind of go through and get more folks involved and get more input. That list will be expanding. So you can go to the next slide.
All right, there we go.
So these 8 data sets are what is in Neotoma for the biomarkers at the moment. If you don't know, biomarkers are these molecular compounds that we get from organic residue. And for paleo climate work that like I'm doing, we usually extract that from sediments, and then we analyze those and use them as climate proxies. It's a pretty strong tool in our toolkit for climate research, and it's really gaining strength and popularity. So, all these 8 data sets, we need a few more. But really the issue is that there's no foundation, no language to be putting this biomarker data inside of Neotoma. So that's what we've been working on, kind of building that up. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So there are a few steps in our kind of journey to get all of this controlled language put together. We've been drafting vocab and kind of exploring this biomarker taxonomy, which I'll talk about moving forward. We're really keen to get community input, and that's through direct correspondence with biomarker experts, and by publishing articles that we can kind of get the noise out to the community so that we can get more input, publishing this finalized kind of controlled vocabulary on things like Zenodo, and then really start uploading data. So next, please. So as of right now, we're working on drafting this controlled vocabulary list. We're kind of at this point where we're starting to incorporate more international standards. We're also at this point where we're kind of getting a lot of community input, discussing with other folks what kind of biomarkers they use and how they describe those in their publications. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've been deciding what language to use in our list. So if you go to the next slide, please. So here's some things that we're including. We've got these glycerol dialkyl glycerol tetraethers, which is definitely a mouthful. And so they're usually referred to as GDGTs, which is also a mouthful, to be fair. But we've got kind of our initial name to be putting in Neotoma as this longer form name, which is important to know, specifics about what we have going on, especially if there are folks who might not be well-versed in this. They can find really specific things they're looking for. But we also want to make sure we're including these kind of shorter names. So, people who are working with GDGTs, experts with this biomarker, can have quick and easy access to referencing all of their data. Also, I think it's important to note that we've got quite a lot of different specifics, but then quite a lot of undifferentiated sections in these names. And that's because there often isn't a time where we're using just one specific biomarker. There's a lot of times kind of groups that we're describing. And so it's important to have those in the data sets. So if you want to go to the next, there's 2 animations. So we're also including some N-alkylic acids and N-alkanes. And then another important part of this list that I want to talk about a little bit is how we've incorporated alkenones. So similar to the GGGTs, we went through a bunch of different publications to kind of get what are the names that people are using, what kind of biomarkers are they publishing, under what name. And we've went through several iterations of this list where it was assumed alkenone names, and then what was actually being used, and then refining that. So this list went through maybe 5 or 6 iterations. And I want to draw your attention as well to this kind of higher order taxonomy, where we've got these like alkenones, and then within that, these C37 alkenones, which is the length. So I'm very sorry about this cat. And kind of how that, what's underneath each umbrella. And so we spend a lot of time making sure that everything that every type of alkenone in like the C37 set with this, 3A, 3B is under that umbrella. So we want to go to the next one, please. And another part of this that is really important is being able to connect databases. So we've been trying to make sure that our language aligns with NOAA's past. We want to make sure that it's also usable with lipid. So kind of using language that lipid already has and making sure we can expand in that for our usage. And then the next step really is kind of taking language from IUPAC, which is an international chemical taxonomy, basically. So it's these formal names for chemicals and chemical compounds that we're going to incorporate within our list here. So next slide, please. One of the things I think we struggled with the most, and if you're working with Tilia, you know about these elements, it's like a little bit vague and doesn't always quite match with the biomarkers. So we kind of went through the list of elements that are within Neotoma already, realized that there were a few that we needed to add to best describe biomarkers, but then learned that there were a lot of elements already included that we can make work for us in the biomarker sphere. And so that's kind of making sure we're working with the metadata and making notes about where exactly our biomarkers are coming from. So next slide, please. So really the main takeaways for all this is that biomarker research is going strong. It's definitely being used a lot in climate research, and it's growing. There's definitely always more to add to our list. There are plenty of more niche compounds that we might not have included into our list, but there's definitely space to kind of add those as needed as people put out more research. We're definitely trying to embrace this kind of IUPAC nomenclature because it is kind of this, this formal chemical taxonomy. And really questions that I have for the group are, if you have any tips on getting effective community input. So best ways to reach out, by email or anything like that. And I put my email down here and my Twitter handle, so I'm accessible in either of those ways. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much.